Hey all, this is our first episode of the business break. Siddharth, are you ready?
Yup, hello, ready. So the idea over here is that we open up a few business newspapers and try and give you the gist of the business news for the day in
Exactly.
within half an hour or 45 minutes.
As much as possible, yeah. And
Yep.
hopefully, well, try to change your perspective and try to inform you slightly better. So let's start with the business standard. Uh, Siddharth, you want me to share the screen?
Yep. Do that.
Okay. So, very first, there's a lot of talk going on about this. I don't know how it's gonna work. I don't know what's gonna happen. But I mean,
So LIC ka IPO is going to be the biggest IPO in India, right? 1 lakh
in
crore or
Indian
something.
history, dude,
Wait.
and it's
Okay.
the most cash-rich company, and it'll be really interesting to see what happens because there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff. Like they're planning roadshows. They're planning so many other things. Like to give you perspective, I really think, I really think that Modi government is going to use this like how you have flagship moments, right? In any government, like there's certain moments which you just remember. I think, I mean, being the marketing team, which the amazing marketing team which the Modi government is, they are gonna try to milk as much as possible from this IPO. So that, what do you think?
Yeah, but that is true for every event in Modi government, right?
No, but this will be like a landmark. Like I think this is going to be so huge that
Mhm.
this will be like the poster child of. So think about it like this: the size, scale, and scope of LIC is so massive. The amount of money which they are going to pull is going to be so huge.
Right.
It's going to be a landmark, and I don't know. I think they'll time it very well. So, Siddharth, are you here? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. So yeah, this is for LIC. Moving on.
Then, no, go up.
Yeah.
On the left, government may propose 18% GST on crypto mining and trading entities.
अरे बाप रे, क्यों
तो
मार रहे?
मतलब माइनिंग विल बी लीगल ना अगर ये से 18% सब डाल रहे तो.
No, the point is not that. Point is, at this point, uh, what ends up happening is it no longer makes sense, dude. Like you're talking about 30% on crypto gains, 18% tax, 2% transaction charge. 50% तो ऐसे ही खत्म.
हाँ, मतलब
Like
ट्रेडिंग बंद हो जाएगा बेसिकली,
yeah,
एटलीस्ट इंडिया
obviously.
में तो.
And I don't know. I think it creates a huge. They've killed it even before it began, basically, like by taxing it so heavily. And I think a lot of, if I'm not wrong, a lot of other countries will go the same route. Instead of
Right.
making it not legal, they'll tax it so heavily that it's game over.
Yeah, Japan did the same thing, right? They put a 50% tax on crypto.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but yeah, moving on to the next story. There is also another thing, though. Sorry, circling back to crypto. Uh,
Mhm.
as far as I can understand, this is just gonna boost the economies of a lot of tax havens.
Yeah, of course, but
So,
it doesn't favor us going into the future, right? As a country, that is what is worrying about this, because India is a has a huge talent pool of developers and traders, and like we can have the first mover advantage in the crypto world if there are supportive policies and taxes are kept at a low. But I don't see that happening. We are missing out on a huge opportunity, the way I see it.
absolutely, absolutely. So moving on, let's just go through it. Okay.
Oh, dude, this is such a revelation. And अगर आप लोग CA या CFA हो ना और
हाँ
आपने Zomato या Paytm में इन्वेस्ट किया है ना, तो
हाँ.
जूता निकालो और मारो अपने आप को। क्या, क्यों इन्वेस्ट किया? मतलब कोई टेक कंपनी, कोई भी टाइप की कंपनी हो, तुम पहले बैलेंस शीट तो देखते हो ना, और तुम्हें पता है कि स्टॉक मार्केट बैलेंस शीट पे चलता है, मतलब प्रॉफिट्स पे
See,
चलता
I have something to say here.
है।
Um, isn't this what happened with Amazon in
या
1998 and 2002 and all that? They were
या
not profitable for a very long time, Siddharth. And now
हाँ,
nothing can stop them.
it is still not profitable, right?
No, no, dude. So they, okay. So Amazon has a policy that, and this was really interesting, and I think a very interesting way of looking at business. So I'll just try to break it down. See, basically, what their target is that, say this like this graph represents your profits, right? Sorry, this represents profits and this represents time, right? Amazon has a policy that no matter what, they'll always be around this. You got it? They never want to be. Ideally, you want companies to be like this, right?
We can't see your screen, Nikhil. Like what graph you're drawing.
Oh, one sec. So I'll just let me just share my screen again. So what I'm trying to say is the way Amazon looks at things and the way I think a lot of these tech companies are valued. This is one of the reasons. Is they are they are this is something with Jeff Bezos. Try to focus, and this is something which made sense in from the perspective that, well, Amazon has become so huge and every other tech company wants to follow the same is a typical company. When I draw a graph and say this represents profits and this represents time, uh, I hope you can see my screen.
Yep, yep,
The normal expectation is you want to do it like this,
yep.
right? What Amazon consciously made a choice of is they want to do it like this. You got what I'm trying to say?
Right.
Never get your investors accustomed to a lot of profit. Keep building assets, keep building wealth. This is one of the reasons why, for example, a Facebook, when it reports a drop in profits of even 10%,
Mm-hmm.
so Facebook reports a drop in profit of 10 or 20%, and the company valuation, cut down by like 25% plus. Whereas Amazon, the story which they have managed to sell to investors and everyone is we never focus on profits, we keep reinvesting and making mistakes. And this is what led to Kindle, this is what led to AWS, this is what led to, well, all of the projects which they have right now, Prime Video,
Right.
etc. So if the promoters of Zomato are trying to sell the same story, which is that, hey, I understand that we are not becoming red and all, but this is the trajectory, this is the assets which we are building, and if the investors can believe in those assets, so in
Obviously,
Zomato's case, it's the assets are the cloud kitchens which they are working on, and it has been doing relatively well if you consider them in silo. I don't know. I think there is still a pitch to be made specifically for Zomato. I don't know about the others, but for Zomato, I think there is a story to be made. What do you think?
I think all of these are good businesses. Okay, I am not against these businesses.
Okay.
I love the kind of businesses they are, and in the long run, they'll be great investments. I'm sure of that also. What I have a problem with is in the IPO season that just happened recently, everything was overvalued and people knew it. We could see it, right? Like,
Right.
for example, Paytm got funded 6 months ago at some X valuation,
And
right?
it dropped in valuation by 25% or so.
No, and when it came out with the IPO, in within 6 months, its valuation doubled. They asked for a double valuation, and the same thing happened with Nykaa and Zomato and the likes. And if you're into finance and if you're a CA or a CFA, you should be able to look through this, right? मैं ये नहीं बोल रहा हूँ कि तुम्हें इन्वेस्ट ही नहीं करना चाहिए, बट आईपीओ में नहीं करना चाहिए था, क्योंकि 2200 रुपये में अगर तुम्हें जोमेटो का शेयर मिल रहा है तो वो बहुत ज्यादा महंगा था, तुम्हें भी पता है ना? जो प्राइस पे पेटीएम लिस्ट हुआ, दैट वाज अ वेरी वेरी हाई प्राइस टू पे. Right now, if you are buying, if you're getting into these companies, it's a good buy. Right? I don't mind. But
And
if you got in during the
regarding
IPO season, it
see
was a
regarding
bad
the
decision.
profitability thing, right? Look,
That's fine. That's a company. That's the company's choice. That's like
yeah,
I'm no.
exactly. And
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with it. Look, you have historically have had issues where companies which have not been able to go profitable have well fizzled out and died, and profit should be the main goal. You also need to understand cash flows, building assets. A lot of these things take time, and Amazon is such a robust business today because of those choices which they made, and because they've consistently been doing it for so long that the investors are used to not getting high profits from them. What they've focused heavily on is cash flows. Even when, so Amazon's flagship business in terms of profitability is AWS. In
Yeah.
itself, AWS can be like $1 trillion business. It's so valuable. But even over there, when the profits come in, Amazon offsets it for their e-commerce business because it knows that the cloud business will not have sustained margins for so long.
Yeah.
There's more and more competition coming in every day. Azure has built a very good cloud infrastructure now, and that's only going to increase. A lot of people want to get into the cloud infrastructure game because of the profits which AWS has done. But think about it like this: apart from building the AWS infrastructure, Amazon has this incredible logistics infrastructure. So this is something which we have been discussing, Siddharth, where Amazon.com's main value is not selling its own products or services. It's actually the cost center, which is shipping and logistics for a lot of e-commerce companies. Is a profit center for Amazon.
Yep. Yep.
And that requires immense investment in robotics, in inventory, in warehousing, etc.
Yep. So that's what I'm saying. Like these are not bad businesses in itself,
Yeah,
Paytm, Zomato, or all these guys. But you should have got into them during the IPO. You should have waited for the prices to fall down, which we knew they will,
true.
because they were unjustified, the prices. And once the prices have fallen down, I think they'll fall down even more. Then it's a good time to enter. But I think when the IPO happened, it was basically investment bankers and promoters taking retail investors for a ride. There's nothing else. And you should look through it. Like you should be smart enough to understand कि हाँ ये हो रहा है now.
Exactly. Yeah. So let's
So
see.
before so I just want to give this okay, before you invest in a company in its IPO, try and look at its fundamentals. Try and look at its balance sheets. There is something called the draft red herring prospectus that every company files before they launch an IPO. This red herring prospectus is basically all the details that the company wants you to have, and SEBI has mandated everybody to do this before you come out with a listing. So
Right.
read that. It's a long document, but if you are ready to invest, say 20,000 to 50,000 of your hard-earned money, then I think you should invest 2 3 hours into reading that report as well.
Yeah. And moving on to the next news story, which is
Byju's,
Byju's putting up physical tuition centers.
यही बचा था, अब और कुछ क्या ही बचा.
Full circle हो गया finally.
I
I mean,
swear, this is like karma coming, hitting back. I remember attending Baiju's live sessions
dude,
in Niman's auditorium.
I,
Like
I'll,
they
before
were,
you say something, I honestly felt his live sessions were lit. He
yeah,
treated it
yeah.
like a fucking rock star, okay?
He was. I attended those live sessions. Like I remember, there were these auditoriums filled with people who want to crack CAT and get into MBA and all that. I was one of them,
Yeah.
and we attended his sessions, and that is where he started. Right, he started with filling up auditoriums. Started as a tuition center, went online, killed it. Now he's coming back. What is he saying? EduTech firm plans to open 500 centers in 200 cities this year.
Yep. So I think I won't be surprised if they end up acquiring another chain like they did. They
With
they
Akash.
acquired Akash, right? I won't be surprised if they end up doing more. This
Yeah.
makes sense in the sense that now that the COVID scare is getting over and all, there's a lot more money which they can earn by
Yeah.
having tuition centers. And I'll be very honest, one of the things which I love about this edtech boom which has happened is a lot of good teachers finally get paid a lot more.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's been something which has been quite nice. I always feel that teachers never get paid well.
Yeah.
And them opening physical tuitions means they will need physical teachers, and I'm pretty confident they end up earning a lot more, you know. And
But I just hope that predatory practices are stopped.
that won't stop, Siddharth. They are an MNC. Why will it stop? I mean, you give me one good reason why they
But
should stop that.
people should know, like, at least don't try and trap sabji walas, dude. Like, you're an MNC, why do you need his money? Like, you're trapping him for the next 12 years.
Right.
मतलब you're selling him a dream कि
Right.
आपका बच्चा ऐसा ऐसा पैकेज लगेगा, क्या पता नहीं लगे यार, और तुम उसको
No, so
12
most.
साल तक मतलब
See, there are two lines of thought. My point is this. I was actually thinking deeply about this, and does this predatory practice from Byju's make sense, and it doesn't, or what, how is it impacting the overall market? Now, all of us, we keep saying, right, YouTube पे ये free में available है, Khan Academy में free में available है. That's because I have been exposed to YouTube. I've been exposed to all of this. Byju's, because it's trying to target a much larger market, I think in that marketing and promotion activity, in a way, they have started educating a lot of people of the importance of education and pushing them aggressively. Now, granted, it is expensive, and I mean that is a part which I don't understand. But
more
you
than
need to
expensive, it is predatory because it lasts for 12 years. You're getting it. That
see
12 years ka subscription is like a dude, it's like a death sentence for somebody
so
who earns like very less. It's
see
not.
from a marketing standpoint, ये क्या कर रहे हैं? मैं explain करता हूँ. You of the cost of a product, you earmark a percentage of the cost of the product into marketing. For consumer electronics, for say a smartphone, for example, I think it's around 8 to 12%. For services industry, the marketing cost is supposed to be a lot higher, 15-20% of the cost of the product. I think in Byju's case, if I'm not wrong, they don't make money for the first 3 years because of their aggressive marketing spend. This marketing spend, if I had to defend it from a capitalist, I am a capitalist person. Like I believe in a capitalist society. I believe markets have solutions for all problems, and from that standpoint, they don't make money for the first 3 years. And if I had to convince you, and I'm saying this right, the the context which you have to keep in mind is this is from the perspective that I'm trying to defend Byju's marketing spend and predatory practice. I know it's predatory, but the trade-off is this sort of spend to get someone to take education seriously, to take education so seriously that you're committing a good amount of your yearly income to it for your kids so that they have a better life. I think overall in the long term will have a much better impact than the alternative, which is they're not going to get educated, they're not going to get exposed to a Khan Academy or something like that. When a Shah Rukh Khan says, or okay, no, Shah Rukh
No,
Khan is
no,
no
that's
longer
what that is what I'm saying. Like
yeah.
that, it's not necessary that if unless people have an iPad or a tab, that they will not take education seriously. There are a lot of
So
children who
look,
go to government schools
I thought
and
about
who
this.
want to study. Right, people who want to study will study. Everybody gets to go to school, whether it's a sabji wale ka beta or whatever, है ना?
No, I
अब
don't. So
ये क्या
this
problem है?
this is
No,
where I
look,
have a difference of
the
opinion. That
problem with Byju's is that they are trying to trap these people who don't, first of all, earn enough. They're selling their services and their tabs and all of that to these guys who, first of all, don't earn enough. Then, once they realize that, okay, this is something that I cannot afford, and when they ask for a refund, they're
they
not
can't
given a
get rid of it.
refund. है ना?
Yeah,
They can't get a refund.
yeah.
And thirdly, why does a child in first standard or second standard need a tab? He's
So I
going to
was
school, he's going to tuitions already.
I
You
was
want
thinking
to
about
add one
this.
more thing, and that to 12 years.
No,
I'm
one sec. So
sorry. See, being a capitalist is fine, okay, but you
no,
need
wait,
to
I
have
was
a
thinking
heart.
about it. Look, you're talking about people who don't have access to computers and smartphones, Siddharth.
Dude, they don't have access to 2 square meals a day. You're selling them I fucking tabs. It is beyond predatory. Capitalism is fine until you don't exploit your fellow human beings. This is straight up exploitation. I don't think this is capitalism, dude. That like there are enough
It costs.
capitalists. There
It
are enough
costs.
capitalists who make money and do well for the society as well without being predatory.
Okay.
So this is a conscious choice that the founders have taken themselves, right? That
The
the work culture.
average cost is 3,000 to 3,500 per month. Yeah, I agree. The predatory part, I mean, so yeah, if I had to defend for it, the story I would say is this capitalist approach that long term, a lot more
अरे
things are gonna
डिफेंड करना है तो मर्डर वाले को भी डिफेंड हो सकता है बट
No,
डिफेंड
no, I'm not saying that. I'm saying if I had to defend it, right, this is the route I would have taken. I
या
don't agree with a lot of the practices which they are doing. Obviously, I think that they can be a lot better.
give the
And
kids a break, dude. Like, let them live a little. Let them fucking go out and play. Once
right,
they're in high school, they'll figure out if they want to study or no. तुम पहली क्लास से ही उनको सुबह से शाम अगर ऑक्यूपाई कर दोगे तो बच्चे जिएंगे कहाँ है पहले ही वो पैदा होते हैं जब यूट्यूब पे रहते हैं साला तुम पहली क्लास में आते उनको टैब दे दो it's just I think we are growing a generation of addicted kids who thrive on dopamine, and
right.
it's dangerous.
And this, by the way, can be a great opportunity for all you businessmen out there who work on infrastructure and retail store and signages and all that. If they're opening these many centers, Byju's will want to do it aggressively. They'll do it like the way Xiaomi did it. Like overnight they had like 2,000 stores across India. So this can be a great opportunity for you if you're an interior designer or someone along those lines, because I think this can really give you a good bump in your business.
Yep.
Moving on to the next story. Let's see. Google to build privacy sandbox. Okay, so you don't know about this, but I want to break it down for you, Siddharth. So basically, uh, think about it like this: Google to build privacy sandbox for Android. You must have read reports that Apple has blocked Facebook's privacy tracking on iPhones. You're aware of that?
Yep.
So what Apple had done was it gave users an option whenever they would open an application that you could click on ask not to track,
Yep.
and it wouldn't allow someone to track. Now I actually wanna spend some time here and explain how this can really impact Facebook's business. Uh, okay, so I'll just explain how this works, and Siddharth, you can like give your thoughts on this, because I mean you're not aware of this that deeply. So I'm going into a bit of technicals into the way digital marketing works, but I think this can help a lot of people understand how they should be thinking about digital marketing, or how big brands do digital marketing, and how they can compete with them and all that. So I'm sharing my screen, one sec. Okay. So normally speaking, when you install an app on your phone, right, this app tracks a lot of your user data. So what am I talking about? What do I mean by user data? I'm talking about your name, your number. This you'd expect. You'll be like, yeah, this makes sense. Then sometimes the app asks you for your location, right? It asks you permission for your SMS, for your phone, all these things, correct? Apart from all this simple user data, there's a lot of other usage data. Okay, for instance, they can check how long you're using an app. Okay, they can check how long. Sometimes they can check what you're typing into the app. If they ask for the right permission and you have accidentally given it. Second, a lot of these apps have pixels installed into them. What is a pixel? Pixel is basically a line of code by generally companies like big advertisers like Facebook, Google, Twitter, which allow these app publishers to run targeted conversion ads.
Oh,
Okay, so what does a conversion ad mean? So now you've just got this basic context, right? That the app tracks a lot of this data and all that. Now I'll just explain what a conversion ad is. Okay. Normally speaking, if I have an app, I'm sure you have seen a video ad of install this app. Correct?
right, right.
Install this app. Simple, pretty straightforward, nothing fancy here. Okay, you've seen this. Now, the app publisher tells Facebook or YouTube that, hey, I will give you money. There's 3 ways of running these ads.
Right.
Something called as an impression, or the way these publishers charge. Next is something called as a click. And finally, you have a conversion. So an impression is, okay, the app publisher will come to Facebook and YouTube and it will tell that, hey, I want to get maximum visibility. I just want people to see my app icon or my app video everywhere.
Right.
Okay, I'll give you like $1,000. Give me 10,000 impressions, 1 lakh impressions, whatever it is. So impression is you have to click on it and then it may pay. Or the app publisher can come to Facebook and Google and Twitter and say that, okay, I'll give you the ad, I'll give you money, but I'll only pay if they click on the link which will take them to install the app.
Okay.
So this is a cost per click campaign. This is something which is very common.
Okay.
The last campaign, the app publisher will tell them that, hey, I don't care about impressions, I don't care about clicks. I'll pay you per app install.
Okay.
So as an app publisher, I'm like, wow, this is amazing. Even if this is cheaper, or even if this is cheaper, like this may be more, for me it is a lot easier to convince my finance department that, look, I'm going to get these many app installs if I spend this much money.
Right.
I would spend 50 rupees per app install or 20 rupees per app install, whatever it is, you'll spend that much and you'll get it. Now so obviously most people will prefer this. Now for you to do conversion tracking, you have to install a pixel, a Facebook pixel, a Google pixel. A pixel is a line of code. Once you install that in your app, I'm again giving a very, very basic example here. It's a lot more complicated than this, but you can run conversion ads. But the moment that pixel is installed, now because Facebook and Google are charging per conversion, they want to maximize this.
Right.
So that pixel gives it access to not just user data, but a lot of usage data.
Okay.
And using this usage data, Facebook and Google build, what do they build? They build profiles.
Individual profiles of each.
They build profiles for every single person, and they know exactly which ad will work for them to get a conversion.
Okay.
Got it?
Yeah.
Now, what Facebook and Google can do is, say you have 50 apps installed in your phone, they not just track your usage data for one app, they track your usage data across apps.
But how? You give them permission to track usage data only for one app, right?
No, but it's all of these 50 guys, because they have to run ads on Facebook and Google to run conversion ads, even if you may have not given permission. This is what Facebook has been caught for. But if these guys have installed the pixel,
so that pixel is coded to extract usage data from all the apps on your phone.
yes.
What the fuck, dude?
And this is what Facebook is getting fucked for. And they can get you ads which will appeal exactly to your psyche, your profile. And this is predatory as fuck. And a lot of users don't even know that, they are installing an app which has a Facebook pixel installed, for example. Or they're installing an app which has a Google pixel installed. Even if I go to the Play Store and I search, I don't go to an ad and I install it. Now, from a marketing standpoint, I love it. I can target my ads specifically to the kind of people whom I want to, and I know they will purchase it, and my cost per conversion, I can optimize it to very low levels. Like I have delivered app installs for like $7 per install in the past.
Right,
That's
right.
dirt cheap. But from a user's perspective, it really brings you to question that, hey, is this really getting, I mean, what's happening here? Now, what did Apple do? Apple said that each app will be sandboxed. So imagine this is the entire storage usage. This is your operating system in Facebook. Each app is sandbox. From before each app was sandbox, it doesn't have access to all the files or storage or your usage information.
So
Each app
sandbox means is it isolated?
it's isolated completely from the OS, and only when it requires permission it will get it.
Okay.
Apple had this before. They introduced a new privacy policy where this app, even if it has a Facebook Pixel or a Google Pixel installed, cannot pull usage data about this app, about this app, about the OS.
Oh,
So
even the
they had
pixels
this.
can't.
What?
Even the pixels can't do that.
Even the
Okay.
pixels can't do it. It's blocked. So Apple
Okay.
masks that information or encrypts it so that no one can get it. So
Okay.
this has caused. So Facebook obviously can't track you across apps. So
Right.
now they can't build good user profiles, and because they can't build good user profiles, they can't sell this to their advertisers that, hey, we know exactly who the users are. Now Facebook is like, we don't know. You have to experiment. And obviously people have reduced their marketing budget.
Right.
And that's what's caused this shit. Now Google is in a unique scenario because they have not just impression campaigns. A good chunk of their money comes from CPC campaigns, like Google ads
Right.
and YouTube ads when people search for certain things. So they still have a great amount of information about the users and what they are in the market for and all that. But the thing with Google, and why I'm happy if Google has this information, even though they probably have, even now they have access to all this and they've been able to build a profile, and I don't have that much I don't like Facebook having this, is simple. With Google, I get so many utilities. They use this information to get me so much. They give me Google Maps, they give me Google Drive, Gmail and Google Docs is free. Our business runs on G Suite, Siddharth.
Right.
Apart from this Google Library, Google Scholar, I mean, they've built so many utilities leveraging this data, and they are very, very, strict as far as I can tell with promoting ads which may have political influence. Or, well, I have had to work with a health tech startup, and it's been very difficult to get our ads approved from Google. On
Right.
Facebook, they approve it, they start showing, and later they may reject it, right? But by
Right.
then we'll already have a new ad ready. So this is what's happened to Facebook's and Google's business. So did you understand this?
Yeah. So what
Now-
is this news now?
Now the news is Apple did it. Facebook's revenue got hit by a lot.
Right.
Google runs Android, which is like the second, which is obviously much larger than Apple in terms of number of users and amount of.
Right.
And on Android, typically you end up sending 400% more user data than iOS.
Okay.
So I actually use Android, and I recently purchased an iOS device. I've always used iOS devices actually, but the amount of mobile data consumption over there for user data is a lot more in Android. Say Google sandbox it, I guarantee Facebook's business gets cut short by another 30-40%.
Oh, so Google is now building a sandbox for their
So
Android
they
devices.
already had it. They're gonna do Apple level of privacy restrictions and controls now.
Oh. But is
So-
that even possible with the
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of
it's
open-
definitely possible. So what
Okay.
happens is they'll be more strict. They'll mask a lot of the information. Technically, it's possible. It's the company intent which is needed, and I
Right,
think
right.
Google smells blood now.
Yeah.
They are like, ये एंड्रॉइड में अगर हम कर दिए तो फेसबुक गया. And of course, from Google's perspective, it's like a monopolistic practice. They want to be the fucking only advertiser boss, and I don't blame that. And the thing with Google is they've given a lot more than they've taken. That's
Right.
different in Facebook and Instagram. They've taken so much from you.
Yep.
And I don't, dude, you tell one utility of Facebook which you
I don't
use
know, dude.
other than Facebook and Instagram.
I deleted Facebook long time ago.
No, but as a utility product, right? So for example,
WhatsApp. Only WhatsApp is something that.
and WhatsApp they didn't even build.
Yeah, they bought out.
They
Yeah,
bought it, and WhatsApp also has a messenger. Soon they're gonna introduce advertisements on WhatsApp. Okay.
just sad.
So, and you look at Google, right? They of course advertise and do all that, but they acquired YouTube, they built Google Drive, they built Gmail. I use Google Docs every day, guys. Like I have like 10 documents open every day, and Google Maps के बिना तो मैं मतलब I would be lost.
Yeah.
मेरे को
So Google
कोई भी
has given a lot of utilities from the data that they've taken from us. So, and
exactly.
plus Google is obviously more trustable and than Facebook, right? Like it's a no-brainer.
So if Google pulls this off, they're saying that they'll implement it over the next 2 years. I
Hmm.
guarantee that Facebook is fucked. Like it is fucked because they will be cut out of all like mobile advertising का उनका जो 80-90% of the revenue comes only from mobile advertising. वो mobile advertising का revenue 20-30% हो जाएगा.
Right.
गया फिर like no one
तो
will wanna advertise.
ये शॉर्ट कर लो फेसबुक अगर करना है तो.
So I honestly believe, and now because these guys are fighting and tech, if I, of course, I mean, I'm sure they're a lot smarter than me or anyone, but I hope that Amazon ends up purchasing Facebook.
Might be the case. You never know.
Because इतना अभी मतलब it's getting beat up. It'll
हाँ.
need, Google is never gonna purchase Facebook. Zuck won't, agree for it. Apple to chance ही नहीं. It like completely against Apple's, image. Uh, Again, I use the word image specifically and not values because Apple's privacy play is a marketing laddering step.
Yep.
So they are just using that to promote their products more, and privacy is a feature which they want to sell, and I agree. Like I very deeply thought about it, and it makes sense that why they're going after privacy, because people who are rich want privacy and they'll pay for it. So Apple is not going to purchase, Google is not going to purchase. I don't think Facebook can exist the way it is right now because I don't know why anyone would want to use it. The moment they start monetizing WhatsApp, the $19 billion investment which they made, people are going to run away from the platform. I guarantee it. The
Yep.
reason people use
No,
WhatsApp
even
is ads.
Microsoft can be a contender because they don't really have a consumer division, and Facebook might be the answer.
Let's see. Microsoft can be interesting, but if Amazon purchases it, I think they can do a lot more, in terms of
Of
monetizing the
course.
platform, because it closes the loop. Social commerce is the thing which many people talk about, and it just
Yep.
fucking plugs in right. And I hope, uh, it ends up happening because I think the amount of positive negative ratio, if you start calculating, right? I think Facebook has really fucked up the world, and
Yep.
I'm glad something like this is happening. So, and it would be great to see one of the tech giants falling, honestly, because many people have theorized this, right? A business which has grown so fast is going to fall so fast, and it would be so incredible for me to see in my lifetime that a company reached $1 trillion and fell down. Like,
Yep.
I would. This is like a story which I'm absolutely, gonna follow a lot more. So, but did you understand the sandboxing thing and how
Yeah.
it
Yeah,
works,
yeah.
right?
Yep.
So you understood why they're getting fucked, right?
Makes sense. Makes sense.
So as a marketer, I have to be a lot more creative now, instead of just pehle to I would just pile on to an insecurity of a specific audience and I just run an ad and khatam. That's like very
Yep.
lazy if you think about it from a marketing standpoint. But
Good stuff. Good stuff. This is.
so yeah, this is the story for this Google sandboxing thing. Moving on. Oh, okay. I don't know, Siddharth. Can you add value here?
Yeah. So basically, what has happened is this year, after the harvest came out, mustard crop ka price skyrocketed, and
Okay.
so did a lot of green gram and moong gram. This is बहुत ज्यादा हो जाता है तो अगले साल फार्मर्स उस चीज को ज्यादा बो करते हैं राइट सो नेक्स्ट ईयर दिस इज व्हाट इज गोना हैपन इंडियंस आर गोना harvest a lot of wheat and mustard crops So yeah, it's like this is a regular cycle that happens every year. Whichever, जैसे इस साल wheat का भी भाव बहुत ज्यादा था, तो cotton का भी बहुत ज्यादा था, तो might just put in cotton as well.
Nice.
Crypto we spoke about. Okay,
Yeah.
let's move on.
Yeah, this is. I don't know who this person is, but yeah, this is. This is exactly what I was also trying to say.
Yeah, these guys, Rajiv, he is Rajiv Chandrasekhar, he is an MP.
Okay.
Yeah, he works with a lot of the IT panels and all of that.
Very nice. Okay. And oh, by the way, one of the best things which Indian government did, and I don't think a lot of people give credit to the Indian government for having done this, they managed to ban TikTok in India,
Yeah.
and I'm glad that happened. I don't think you really understand, the kind of impact it would have had on the social fabric of India had they not banned something like TikTok, especially a country like India where things get polarized so fast and things get forget about polarized, things get violent so fast.
Hmm.
So I'm glad that the Indian government had banned TikTok, and they at least speak about this. I've not seen a lot of Western governments actually talk about it in this sense, and a lot of
We we also banned a lot of other apps now,
yeah.
not just
So
TikTok,
recently,
Chinese apps.
exactly. Recently, we banned another whole bunch of apps, and I mean, some of them, came back to India under different company names or under different storage server things. But that's a different story. Point is, I'm glad that the Indian government actually thinks about this and speaks about this. So hopefully, this continues.
Right.
Moving on.
Oh, this is a insane story.
Yeah,
So have you this?
the COVID vaccine.
No, no,
Then,
the one on the right, Chitra Ramkrishna.
so who is this? Can you
So
take me
she,
through this?
yeah, so she was a former MD and CEO of the National Stock Exchange. Okay, the
Okay.
National Stock Exchange is one of the two major stock exchanges in India. One is Bombay Stock Exchange, one is National Stock Exchange, right?
Okay.
This lady was taking cues and instructions on how to run the NSE and how to who to promote, who to demote, what
Okay.
to what to make the NSE's priority
Huh?
from a yogi in Himalayas.
What the fuck?
I'm not kidding. Okay, there are people like they've got legit email exchanges, and
Okay.
firstly, the yogi is not been they've not traced this Himalayan yogi because apparently they destroyed her laptop and a few other associates' laptops, saying it was e-waste
Okay.
before the raids could have happened, right?
Wow.
And so this next level shit. Okay, there's like a Bollywood movie or something. So she heads the National Stock Exchange, right?
Okay.
She takes the decisions on what the National Stock Exchange's priority should be, what the settlement days should be, everything, right? All the market, she runs the exchange, you know.
Okay.
And this Baba or Yogi, whoever he is,
Okay.
he used to send emails and to her in terms of who to promote
Okay.
and who to not promote and what should be the limits and what should be NSE's investments, like where should NSE invest and should NSE how should NSE reach the PMO and how should NSE target getting approved for its own listing and how it
Okay.
should go about. It's mad. Okay, like how can such a thing happen and there's no noise about it, like, and this
I
happened
mean, if you
since
guys had any
2015.
अगर कोई
This
doubt 2015.
हाँ, ये 2015 से हो रहा है एंड उसमें ऐसे ऐसे ईमेल्स है। वो बंदा इसको बता रहा है कि हेयर स्टाइल कैसे रखनी है आपको, ऐसा प्लेट करोगे तो बेटर लगोगे, और वो उसको बोल रहा है कि एक दो बैग रेडी रखना, हम अपन
I,
सेशेल्स घूमने
I
जाएंगे।
want to, I want to read out one small snippet from this news article. A Delhi-based member on the NSC was able to access privileged price information by linking to servers and getting access to least crowded server. This location this later
Oh
came
yeah,
to be
so
known
it's
as the co-location scam. Wow.
yeah, it's a co-location scam. Is some Singapore-based whistleblower ratted her out.
Okay.
But imagine, man, the National Stock Exchange being run by a yogi from the Himalayas. Like, it doesn't get better than that, at least in our
हिंदू राष्ट्र
country.
अपना हिंदू राष्ट्र है सिद्धार्थ ऐसे कैसे बोल सकता है तो योगी नहीं
Yes.
चलाएगा तो और कौन चलाएगा
I'm not talking about Yogi Adityanath, dude.
नो
This guy
आई
is
नो आई नो
someone.
आई मीन कोई I know that
It is insane. Like, and there's hardly any discussion about this in the major news outlets. I don't know why. But yeah, just go read about this if you guys want to understand what's happening.
I'll ask you to make a quick video about this as well so that I think you should but yeah
Mm,
just briefing everyone about this very interesting I didn't know this was such a big case
yeah.
moving on
Okay.
uh,
Next.
so which was the next story I think that's about it yep more about LIC mutual funds are going to get affected a little bit this is so cool oh uh, this is an interesting story one of the reasons I want to cover this is Indian pharma is one of the most underrated industries across the globe in the sense that
We
like
are
we
the
talk about
world's pharmacy. Like,
yeah so and I'll tell you why right so normally speaking of course we talk about Chinese being copiers and stealing IP from tech companies and all that will we Indians have been doing it for a lot longer
yep,
with the pharma industry
yep,
so because the patent laws in India are relatively weak what ends up happening is a lot of times we end up manufacturing drugs taking the chemical composition from the American companies for a lot lower cost
yep.
and we end up exporting it to a lot of countries which need it or selling it in India itself which is a huge market and of course we're a democracy so that's another advantage why this has happened but I see its impact. First, I saw it during COVID, where I did not think that the Indian pharmacies had a very robust research and development process because they never had to research and develop, right?
Yep.
And I did not think that the COVID vaccine, which Indians were able to develop, they could actually capitalize on that the way Pfizer did, or the way a lot of other companies did. From a business, I'm strictly talking from a business standpoint. I have no idea about the effectiveness and all that. But what I'm saying is, if anything, this just highlighted that in the end of the day, if you're not a product or if you're not a R&D led company which is constantly looking to solve newer and newer problems, you're gonna get fucked.
Yeah, you'll have to innovate to survive. Otherwise,
Exactly. And this, what you're seeing, Indian pharma growth being affected despite being in COVID time. Being in COVID time, they should have had like such a huge change in growth. And I see, just single digit growth numbers here. It's bullshit.
yeah.
Like, I don't even know what to say. Like, how can you have such a low number being a pharma company during COVID times? The reason for that is they have no clue how to innovate and they were waiting for the US companies to innovate. What US companies were very smart this time is after they innovated, they didn't send the formulas or they didn't patent it immediately. They got it protected by the government itself.
Right.
They are not idiots over there. If you think वो copy करके हो जाएगा, घंटा हो जाएगा. वो बस थोड़े साल तक चलाओगे फिर क्या it is gonna get affected and these bigger guys once they make a lot more money they'll start fighting with you in the courts of law in your local government like you in local government can be bought up if you have sufficient cash guys I mean आपका relation उतनी देर तक ही चलेगा आपका
Yep.
so I really hope that this changes and they end up investing one of the reasons why I cannot believe that IT boomed in India and biotech didn't.
Yeah. Very true. Very true.
It's like, what the fuck? Like, it doesn't add up. The reason it didn't was because of these fuckers. Like the way they would end up treating R&D and research and actual development. They would spend, this is the case even in the US, but they would spend like 10 times, 20 times, 100 times more on sales team and marketing team instead of, smart doctors and people who could actually develop drugs for you. What do you think
Right.
about this?
Yeah, man, totally agree. Like, unless there's innovation, you can't really survive. Only the paranoid are going to survive, right? So
Yep.
you have to innovate.
So, moving on, let's check out, let's check out Mint. Any specific story which you came across, Siddharth, which you would want to cover?
No, no, not really. We can just go through the newspapers.
Of course, uh, I can see Pesa Bazaar ka ad. Oh, let's talk about this. Okay, so I have the Mint open with me.
Share screen.
Yeah. So, do you think Russia is very serious about this?
Yeah, dude. Like that's what I'm trying to tell you. Like, and I just read yesterday that the Ukraine fired a few mortals.
Oh,
Uh,
fuck.
so once there is firing and if the battle begins, there's no going back. I think. So yeah,
That's going to be very interesting, actually. Uh, let's talk about this. So, adding on to what we were speaking, uh, Zerodha and Zoho. Now, Zoho is like Bap, okay?
yeah.
And then
Even
Zerodha is
zero.
the other Bap.
Yeah.
Now, look,
Now suddenly the 100 crore salary seems justified, no?
for who?
For zero the
Dude, it's
owners.
less. I mean, what the hell? Are you seeing the amount of
No,
value the guy is creating?
I'm saying there was so much hoopla over it, right? When it
Yeah.
was announced. But nobody is like looking at these results and now saying, "नहीं यार ठीक है
और
अगर इतना कमा रहा
भाई
है तो
तुम
फिर."
होते कौन हो कुछ भी बोलने वाले यार?
Yeah.
प्राइवेट कंपनी है, शेयर है क्या तुम्हारा उसमें? गार्ड मारो जाओ.
And that is exactly the reason they've stayed private also, both
Yeah.
Zoho and Zerodha, I think, because so that is the thing with bootstrap companies, right? And bootstrapped
So
owners, like
yes.
they
So
they don't like interference or authority. Like they want to run the company on their terms,
yeah.
and they're fine with being broke for a few years, but they will not compromise on equity
No matter
or
what.
on decision making or on clout. They will not give it up.
And
Like,
also, uh, Siddharth, so one of our clients, Sterlite, I was asking him, why they haven't raised investments and why they're staying private and working on debt. And so he told me very clearly, Nikhil, look, like someone like a Polycab, he never went, or even say a DMart, right? They never liquidated their equity. They valued it a lot more, and they kept it private for as long as possible. And they didn't need to go public. They finally went public for some other reasons, like it opens up a lot of government contracts and all that. And the stock price after they got listed has just gone up and up and up to almost 1,300, 1,400%.
yeah.
And I mean, I'm sure, again, we're going to talk a little bit more about bootstraps and Zoho and Zerodha. This is a constant discussion we have with our business, that look, there's three of us. Should we try to raise investment? What should we do? What should we not do? And we've had this conversation time and again. And I think Siddharth very rightly has always pointed out that we can't lose control, and we're still figuring stuff out. If we lose control and still figuring stuff out, like what's the point of raising capital and investment?
It's a recipe for disaster. Like if you've
Yeah,
lost control and you haven't even figured out what you're going to do, then
yeah,
you'll just be following orders.
exactly. You'll be in a job instead of,
Yeah.
trying to build a business. And look, it's hard, okay? It's fucking hard to build a bootstrap business. Very hard. But then if you manage to pull it off, if you're conservative with your spends, if you're, consistently doing it right, you can see what happened to Zoho and Zerodha. And Zoho and Zerodha didn't get built overnight. There was not one funding round or one day which then if you see the trajectory, it's like a very slow linear graph like this. There's no exponential, This just slowly kept on growing, kept on growing, kept on growing, and it is where it is now because of that. I mean, look at the amount of profits, and look, a lot of these invested companies want to get here. This
Yeah.
is where they want to be. They want to be an extremely profitable business, but by keeping it private, tomorrow, say Zoho decides to put 1,000 crores on a completely new project, no one can fucking question Sridhar
Yep.
Vembu.
Yep.
He'll be like, "Oh fuck yourself. Who are you?"
And see, this is also the way traditionally businesses were run and operated and started, right?
Yep.
The whole VC game started 50 years ago.
Yep.
The whole funding game and valuation and all of that, where you get to a few crores in valuation, you get to few crores in revenue, and you're valued at least 10x or 20x that, and then on that valuation, you
Yeah.
pick up a st- you pick up a funding round by liquidating 5 to 10%, right? But you are selling a story to the investors that अच्छा मैं अभी 2 करोड़ का रेवेन्यू कर रहा हूँ तो मेरा वैल्यू 20 करोड़ का है. आप मेरे को 10 करोड़ रुपए दो तो मैं 20 करोड़ का सेल करूंगा तो मेरा वैल्यू 100 करोड़ का हो जाएगा, है ना?
Yeah.
You are selling a story. Now you are dealing in hyperboles over here, right?
Right.
These things might happen, these things might not happen, right?
Yep.
It's a gamble.
Yep.
These gambles pay off 1 out of 100 times, right? We all know how the VCs industry runs. Okay, 99 times it fails. One of the investments gives a complete return. So that this is the new way of running a business or funding a business, and it's more of a gamble. Like I'm not saying it's a bad thing. A lot of ambitious projects have come out of venture capital investments and investors backing ambitious investors backing ambitious founders. We saw that with Uber, we saw that with Airbnb, we saw that with Amazon, we saw that with a lot of these internet companies, right? And that is fine. But the old ways never die. Like the old is gold. There is a reason behind that saying, because it is a tried and tested method. It's been 200 or 300 years in the making, and this is the reason Zoho and Zerodha are the talk of the town right now, is because they stuck to their old ways. The founders are old school guys at their core, and they were very clear that नहीं मेरे को फंडिंग नहीं उठाने का, और मैं जो धंधा कर रहा हूँ, और धंधा होता ही है ना यार, तुम कुछ इन्वेस्ट करो, तुम कुछ सर्विस या प्रोडक्ट बनाओ, उसको बेचो, और उससे जैसे 10 रुपए में बनाया और 12 में बेचो, 2 रुपए तुम्हारा प्रॉफिट है. सिंपल सा धंधा, सिंपल ये होता है.
Correct.
Or old, like that is what these guys have done. So, and I've always been a fan of old school people because there is a no nonsense approach they have. Like they don't need a lot of decorations and a lot of dressing up around their business to sell it. Their business in itself is the marketing, right?
Yep.
So
And
yeah.
that's what, and they try to. It just requires very careful execution repeatedly. Like it just requires crazy amount of grit and grind.
Yeah,
Like,
it's consistency. It's more than anything else. There's
yep.
consistency, right? And the mental toughness of these guys is next level. Like you can pitch them against any founders in the country, and uh, they will come out winning. I mean, because these guys have gone through the grit for 10 years. Like these guys have paid themselves zero salaries for like 2 years, and they've survived that. And while their cousins or others were getting placed and getting a lot of job offers and earning in lakhs and buying houses and buying cars, these guys were silently just building their companies.
Yep.
So that builds a certain amount of mental toughness that is not easy to come by.
Yep.
And once you've crossed that path, and once you've built a company while being under so much mental pressure, and still coming out of that and build a company, then now imagine what Zoho or Zerodha will do in the coming 50 years with the kind of leadership it has, with the kind of
Yeah.
business model and profits they have.
Yep.
And I think I would prefer this kind of a company any day over a funded startup who is valued at $100 million or who's a unicorn. But
Yep.
doesn't have any clear path to profitability.
Very true. And I hope, a lot more, entrepreneurs or business people are looking at this as trying to shape their business like this.
Yeah, I'm
And
not
look,
saying the other approach is wrong. It's just that this one makes more sense to me.
exactly, it'll be different for you, it'll be different for other people, it'll be different for
Exactly.
me. I don't know, I feel sometimes कि उठाना चाहिए पैसा नहीं उठाना चाहिए, I don't know, it's a constant debate. But the thing is that, right, like if you don't get funding, for example, don't get demoralized, boss, come on.
हाँ, मतलब
कुछ
अगर अगर तुम्हारे पास ऐसा कोई धंधा है ना जिसमें तुम पैसा कमा रहे हो हर महीने, तुम जितना पैसा डाल रहे हो उससे ज्यादा तुम निकाल रहे हो ना, तो तुम एक
बस
अच्छा धंधा कर रहे हो. तुम्हें
exactly
टेंशन लेने का जरूरत नहीं है.
exactly.
मतलब फंडिंग वंडिंग आए तो भी ठीक है, नहीं आए तो भी ठीक है.
And honestly speaking, some of the best companies, even those who have taken funding, have this approach. आए
हाँ,
तो भी ठीक, नहीं आए तो भी ठीक.
एग्जैक्टली लाइक एंड मतलब जो ये कांस्टेंट राउंड्स है ना जो अपडेट होते रहते हैं कि एक और राउंड हो गया, एक और राउंड हो गया, ज्यादातर जरूरत भी नहीं होता है. मतलब देयर आर लॉट ऑफ यूनिकॉर्न्स एंड बिलियन डॉलर कंपनीज हु जस्ट रेज्ड वन और टू राउंड्स एंड आफ्टर दैट दे वर फाइन. दे वर लाइक अब जरूरत ही नहीं है तो अब क्यों उठाना है पैसा.
Exactly. Fresh Desk was one of them. I think 3-4 rounds के बाद they were like चाहिए ही नहीं पैसा. Customers will pay for us.
Exactly, and your customers are your funding round, dude. If you cannot figure that out, if you cannot figure out a consistent revenue model from customers, then there is a problem with your business. Like it's not going to be sustainable. कितनी बार funding उठाओगे?
Exactly. So
Yeah,
So yeah, that was the. I think I couldn't find any other stories in Hindu business line or anything so that. But I think let's stop it at that.
okay.
Thank you so much for watching, guys. Do subscribe to Business But Now. We plan to do this daily. Hopefully, it goes well. See you
Yeah.
guys tomorrow.